The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities.
It's time for Health Futures with Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth. This is Arizona's only show dedicated to providing you with expert advice on how to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. To learn more, call 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. This is Bob Roth, your host of Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. This is a weekly program here on KFNN Radio, Money Radio, 1510 AM, 99.3 FM, dedicated to the medical and healthcare field and covering the latest news. We have the opportunity to have incredible guests here in our community, and I'm really proud to have an incredible guest here today from Cancer Treatment Centers of America. And it's something that, we are very blessed with having here in our community, and it almost seems like they've been here forever. And our guest here today just told me that December, they're going to be here for 5 years. So they are really making an impact. And with that, I want to introduce to our audience Dr. Ed Staren from Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Dr. Staren is the president and CEO of Cancer Treatment Centers of America Medicine and Science, and he is also the Western Regional CEO for the Cancer Treatment Centers of America in Goodyear, Arizona. With that, Dr. Staren has an incredible bio, and I could sit here and read all of this because he's very accomplished. He's not only an MD, but he's a PhD and an MBA. And I want to welcome to our audience Dr. Ed Staren.
Bob, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for being here, and I'd like to have you talk a little bit about you and about how you got into working for Cancer Treatment Centers of America, because you are one of the great leaders that we have in our community, but not only in our community, but in the field that you have chosen.
Thank you, Bob. My background is as a practicing surgical oncologist. Was very proud to be an active clinician taking care of large numbers of patients. Had the privilege of terrific training from mentors that brought skill and compassion to the table, and I openly admit to doing everything I could to try to emulate the terrific care that they provided. I was on a track to really follow academic medicine, was at Rush Medical College in Chicago for 17 years, and then subsequently a chairman of the Department of Surgery in Ohio at the Medical College there in Toledo, as well as the founding director of the Cancer Institute. And life was good. I was most blessed to have a terrific family. If I don't do anything else right in my life, getting my wife Lisa to say yes was the most right thing I ever did. We're blessed with 6 wonderful children, not so much kids anymore, range from 29 to 14, and my oldest married. And as I said, life was good, and I was enjoying the privilege of taking care of patients and being in an environment that was stimulating with colleagues that I admired and enjoyed working with, until one day I noticed a lump on my leg. I confess to having discounted the significance of it. Perhaps the worst patients are doctors, but I'm, again, fortunate that my wife is a nurse and very wise, kicked me in the backside and said, "Get that biopsied," which I did, and ended up getting a call from my partner on the phone and said, "Ed, I think you and Lisa need to come on into the office. We need to talk about this." Well, I've had that phone call plenty of times myself, not on the receiving end. And I said, "PK, this must not be so good." And he says, "No, Ed, it's a cancer." Well, that was life-changing, and one that, as much education as I had gone through, both in medical school and in graduate studies and the like, I was very ill prepared for. I went through remarkable surgery and radiation therapy, And what I realized is that despite actually being the medical director of the Cancer Institute, we were missing so much of the care that was critical for patients. We were focusing on state-of-the-art traditional care, and I believe that we were doing that. But what is characteristic of so many healthcare centers is that we forget that it really is all about the patient, and that while we can provide state-of-the-art surgery and radiation therapy and chemotherapy and the like, that equally important are supportive therapies, nutritional support, rehabilitation, psychosocial support, and many others, pain management. And these were not there. And I needed to seek those out independently as a patient. And unfortunately, I knew too much and recognized the importance of those things. And thank goodness for the support of family and friends that identified and provided those, but we had to seek them out. Well, it was with that I had an opportunity to step back and recognize the things that weren't in place, that integrative model, combining state-of-the-art traditional care with complementary care. And it's really what led me to CTCA, an organization which is founded on that principle of providing the entire continuum, the entire package of what patients value.
How long ago was that, Dr. Staren, when you had cancer and were dealing with this? Yeah,
approximately 9 years ago, and it was a tumor called a sarcoma, which is a tumor of the soft tissues of the body. It was in my leg, in my thigh, and I remember I was 46 years old and was in the car coming home. We had the 2 young children in the back, and it is like a bolt of lightning when you get that phone call. And I remember, I'm a fairly strong individual and think that I have strong character, and certainly have been exposed to tough emotional circumstances because of patients that I've taken care of. But I remember looking at my then 4-year-old daughter and next older brother in the back, wondering if they were going to get to see me at 47. I really tried hard to ensure that those kind of services were being delivered, but it's just not at the mindset of most healthcare systems, and particularly nowadays where we end up being in such a financial constraint. But the truth of the matter is that if you end up providing those types of services, market rules apply. Patients know they need those types of services, and they will seek you out. If you don't provide those types of services, patients are going to feel wanting, and they'll leave and vote with your feet. So I think that both from a business standpoint and more importantly from a quality of care standpoint, it's essential to provide that continuum, that combined service.
What's interesting to me, and I think our audience, is that you have now a compassion for your patients because you've been in their place, and not all doctors in your profession have worn their shoes before. Mm-hmm. And you know, because you experienced it yourself when you get that call, emotionally, physically, what you were going through. So, wow, how empowering that is for you to be able to relate to your patients.
Sometime after I ended up having the diagnosis, and it looked like I was going to dodge the bullet, so to speak, I really needed to get my own thoughts in order. And I wrote a paper called Compassion and Communication in Cancer Care. And I wonder if it was as much for me as anything else. It was a chance to get thoughts together on what I saw lacking in my own therapy and what I embarrassingly admit I was not necessarily delivering optimally prior to that point. I believe with all my heart that all healthcare providers get into that field because they have a heartfelt desire to make a difference in people's lives. But there's so much technical aspects that you can forget that key component. And I learned and tried to put down on paper and organize my own thoughts about those key components to ensure that we are delivering that compassionate care, that care that's providing everything that patients value. And therefore, my own personal tragedy, I believe, turned out to be a personal blessing.
I believe not only for you, but the people that work at CTCA, Cancer Treatment Centers of America, have that same mindset and that same emotional feeling and giving back to the patients that come to your center. We have to take a break right now. This is Bob Roth here with Dr. Ed Staren from Cancer Treatment Centers of America. We will be right back.
Are you retired or approaching retirement? Then don't miss your Straight Talk Retirement Show. Join Business for Breakfast host Ken Morgan and Tim Van Houten, president of Van Houten & Associates, as they discuss all things retirement. Tim will help make your retirement vision a reality, all the while preserving and growing your investments. From Social Security to long-term health care, your Straight Talk Retirement Show will cover all aspects of retirement planning. So tune in every Monday morning at 9 right here on Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
I need to archive emails to comply with business regulations.
Do you have an IT guy to help search through thousands of PSD files?
No.
Got time to install a complicated product or create detailed reports?
No.
You okay paying storage fees to save duplicate emails and images?
No.
Offshore automated phone tree support okay?
No.
Then yes, we can help.
The Barracuda Message Archiver lets you store and find emails fast to avoid compliance and litigation penalties. Easy setup and single instance storage will save you time and money. And if you need help, you'll talk to a live human. Try the Barracuda Message Archiver free. Go to barracuda.com/yes.
Laura Bramnick is a real estate agent and a consumer advocate.
I try to be a strong voice when dealing with lenders and collection companies, because if someone is facing a possible foreclosure or short sale, they really do need to be aware of the pitfalls. Join us for Talk Real Estate AZ this Thursday at 4:20 p.m.
Or call 480-624-2705. That's 480-624-2705.
The money talk you love, still on 1510 AM, and now 99.3 FM.
I remember the moment.
I'll never forget that moment.
As long as I live.
As long as I live.
Several of us were working to rescue a family.
The house collapsed on top of the cellar door and trapped them.
We had to use Humvees and heavy machinery to move massive trees and debris.
We got them out.
We helped a lot of people out.
It felt good to know I could really make a difference.
Because I'm a citizen soldier in the National Guard.
Be there the moment your community needs you. Learn more at NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Arizona National Guard. Aired by the Arizona Broadcasters Association and this station.
The most important car in the world is your car. At Safe Auto, we only sell the right car insurance for the right price, right now. What drives us, drives you. 1-800-SAFE-AUTO.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. This is Bob Roth, and I am your host of Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I run a home care agency here in town called Cypress HomeCare Solutions. And if you are just tuning in, I wanted just to reintroduce our guest, Dr. Ed Staren from Cancer Treatment Centers of America. And Dr. Staren, we were talking about the people. And before we took our break, we were talking about yourself and how you got into this profession, this area of specialty cancer. But the thing that I've been most impressed with is I've had a chance to meet a lot of your personnel. And it's almost like they've had the Disney training. I mean, the customer service that they have is incredible, and each one of them has a story. And I'd like you to tell us a little bit about the personnel and certainly the creators of Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
Be honored to do so, Bob. I believe that healthcare providers enter this field because they do want to make a difference in patients' lives. But there's nothing like a personal experience to better help you to understand what patients do value. And I think that's really the origins of our organization. Our founder lost his mother to bladder cancer, and he and the family believed that she was not provided the opportunity to be treated with entities, therapies that she valued, that she became a number. And ultimately her disease progressed and she passed from bladder cancer. And it's evident that the family was devastated. And they looked to try to resource from those individuals around the country and around the world that had really made a difference, that had gone into new frontiers. And they recruited those individuals to create Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and went through an evolution that was based on the fundamental principle that if you were going to be able to deliver care that patients value and put them at the center of everything you did, you needed to have individuals delivering that care that provided that service, that put the patients first and brought first and foremost compassion to the table. We end up having a substantial number of caregivers. We call them stakeholders because they have a stake not only in the organization, but they have the stake in the care of the patients. And those individuals have had personal experiences. There's so many of them that have had a diagnosis of cancer and have understood what the patients are going through and understood the loss and the lack of complete aspects of care that were provided to them. So knowing that information allows them to ensure that whole continuum of care, in addition to the state-of-the-art traditional care, the supportive therapy, psychosocial support, pain management, nutritional support, rehabilitation, naturopathic remedies, all of those types of entities are provided as the patient values. And it makes a huge difference. The patient then ends up being empowered. You ask them very simply, what's important to you? And it's remarkable how much patients will tell you, and they're actually surprised often to be asked because most of the time they're told what they should get, as if they're a passive participant. Active participants by patients ends up being so associated with an improvement in their overall results. And when they're empowered, they're enthusiastic about that positive result and look forward to a future that they can gain some control over.
And I think, Dr. Staren, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's this generation that we are dealing with today, the baby boomers. They want to take more control of their health care.
Absolutely.
Where, your dad and your grandfather's generation, they just look to the doctors for all the answers. We have incredible resources now. The internet. When you get a diagnosis, what's the first thing you do? You go to the internet and do some research. And people are now educated.
And it's wonderful. It can be intimidating to have a patient come in and they'll have a stack of papers that they printed off of the internet. But the potentially bad news about the internet is the information is so broad and sometimes conflicting and not always accurate. That's not to say that there's not wonderful, accurate information out there, but for a layperson, someone that's not in the field, it can be difficult to determine what is accurate, what's not, what's most up to date, and what is something that's realistic within their care. We believe that there's two central components that are critical to the success of taking care of patients. First and foremost, put them at the center of what you do. Patient-centered care. That type of care recognizes that the patient can tell you what they value, and you end up determining all factors of that care surrounding the patient. The second aspect is, as I mentioned earlier, is empowering the patient, giving them that control back. One of the problems about all diseases, and cancer especially, is it takes control away. You go from being in a circumstance that you determine when you go to work and what type of job you have and what your activities are. Now you're being told you have a doctor's appointment at so-and-so, you need to have such and such a test, you need to prepare with this particular bowel prep or whatever invasive component. By giving a patient control back, it brings that mental healing into the process as well and allows them to feel like they can make a difference in their future as opposed to being controlled by the disease.
What's interesting today, and you mentioned how you can get a lot of conflicting information from the internet. And, one thing that I really think that there's a lot of things that set Cancer Treatment Centers of America apart from everybody else. And I would like you to talk to me and our audience about how you bring together more the naturopath, homeopathic, as well as the medical remedies that are available. Because personally, I have a friend who is dealing with a diagnosis, and there are two people that he's seeing, mutually exclusive one another, and they are not talking to one another. And, I am sure there's a lot of conflict going on. And that's what I love about CTCA, is that that's all part of what you get. And I wanted you to also share about the integrated team approach, because that's phenomenal.
Be delighted. One of the things that's important is actually if you go to our website, cancercenter.com, you'll be in good company. Turns out that we have over 1 million unique visitors per month that go to that particular website. Now, we take care of a lot of patients, but we're not taking care of 1 million patients per month. And I actually have a lot of pride in that what it means is that we end up having a website that provides information that people view as useful, that they can be empowered by going to that website and they'll learn more. When a patient comes into our doors, when they've made the decision that this is the right place for their care, the first thing that they'll do is that they go to our clinic and they will be seen not by just one doctor, but by a team of individuals. If we take care of cancer patients, so they will see medical oncologists and surgical oncologists and radiation oncologists, but they'll also see a nutrition specialist. They'll see a naturopathic physician. Should they so desire, they'll see a mind-body specialist, rehabilitation, pain management, all as part of that team, what we call the patient-empowered care model. Every day, we end up having a meeting of that team that will talk about the individual patient. And it might only be a brief elbow bumping of information, but it's a key component of healthcare that you wouldn't necessarily get from the medical record. By that team communicating and knowing what's of value to the patient, you can impact on them in a direct way and make such a positive difference.
The great thing, too, about being a patient is you talk about this team. I know this because I've had the ability to have a tour of your hospital and the center to really meet the team, but the consistency. So when the patient does come in, they're seeing the same nurse, they're seeing the same naturopath, they're seeing the same the same oncologist. That says a lot, because that makes that patient feel like they're not alone. They got this team rooting for them.
Patients are frightened. It's an unfamiliar territory. Cancer is terrifying. To at least know that you end up having individuals that you can view as not just familiar, but family, if you will, is a great comfort and an important part of their care.
I love that. And just out of curiosity, do patients come back after they have had a positive outcome to come revisit their family? Because that's what I would imagine they view them as.
Not only do they come back, but they actually want to be a part of the organization in a team that we call cancer fighters. And those cancer fighters are impassioned to help other patients in their journey.
I want to hear more, and I know our audience wants to hear more. This is Bob Roth with Dr. Ed Staren from Cancer Treatment Centers of America. We need to take a break. We will be right back.
As we reach the bottom of the hour, we pause for a look at the world's news. Then we're back with Money Talk. We're Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
NBC News Radio, I'm Marlis Majerus. Another warning for Russia. White House spokesman Jake Carney says the U.S. is keeping a close eye on Russian actions in Ukraine.
Reports of Russian intervention in Crimea are of deep concern to the United States. And as Secretary Kerry said and Ambassador Rice has said, intervention would be a grave mistake.
Southern California is bracing for the second of two large rainstorms that could bring flooding and mudslides. But NBC meteorologist Bill Caron says it's also bringing some drought relief.
L.A., an inch of rain. That's gold right there. About a half inch in San Francisco. Same with Sacramento. We're getting a little bit of snow up in the Sierra, too. That's where we need it. That's where we need the reservoirs to build up.
NASA and Japan Aerospace have launched a cutting-edge satellite that will measure rain and snowfall around the globe. It will orbit the planet about 16 times a day, delivering real-time data on extreme weather events. This is NBC News Radio.
Now here's something you don't hear on the radio every day. Someone who can't see. I am totally blind. So I go through periods when I'm unable to sleep at night. And I feel like I'm constantly running, but can never quite catch up. But this isn't a sleep problem. It's something called non-24-hour disorder. Learn more about Non-24 by calling 855-856-2424 or visiting learnmorenon24.com.
This is Charles Osgood. Go down the pain relief aisle, and you'll see there are a lot of pain relievers out there, but there's a powerful one you may not have heard of, Salonpas Jet Spray. Salonpas Jet Spray is a clear, fast-drying pain-relieving spray perfect for sore muscles or joints. It has 2 active ingredients that give it the strength to work for up to 8 full hours. Look for the blue bottle with the blue cap and spray your way to relief. Salonpas, powerful relief when and where you need it. Available at Walmart.
As a home buyer in today's fast-paced real estate market, you need a competitive edge. You need an advantage that helps your offer stand out from the rest. Hi, I'm Jay Farner, president of Quicken Loans, and I'm excited to tell you how to get just the edge you're looking for as a home buyer. This brand new program is called Mortgage First, and it's exclusively from Quicken Loans. With Mortgage First, the name really says it all. Unlike a pre-approval, we'll verify your assets, income, and credit to underwrite you up front, giving you the upper hand on the competition before you even start shopping. As a strong, confident buyer, you can stay focused on finding the right place for you and your family, knowing you're approved by Quicken Loans. To learn more about Mortgage First, call Quicken Loans today at 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com. That number again is 800-QUICKEN. That's 800-QUICKEN.
Restrictions apply. Rate terms and conditions may change until final loan approval. This is not an offer to lend. Call us for cost information. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states and
Pipeline Oil and Gas is an energy asset development company that focuses on helping investors benefit from the modern-day oil boom, giving investors access to an all-star team of proven industry experts. Brandon Cox, founder and CEO of Pipeline Oil and Gas, is very proud of the fact that he invests his own money into each project before any investor is introduced to any potential project. Brandon Cox is the first to invest in a project to prove to investors he has a vested interest in the project. Pipeline Oil and Gas focuses on the revitalization of existing oil wells that already produce oil, and when needed, drill new wells in order to maximize returns on a project. By following this superior formula for success, they have consistently delivered a stellar track record for their clients by also educating clients on how to put their self-directed retirement funds to work and also demonstrate how to access the superior tax advantages associated with investing in the modern-day oil boom. To find out more, contact Brandon Cox today, 602-620-8272. That's 602-620-8272, or visit pipelineoilandgas.com. Dare to compare your high-risk, high-fee variable annuity to the concept of the principal-protected, low-cost, new-generation annuity. Find out the real truth when they do the fee analysis, the income analysis, and risk analysis between the high-risk, high-fee variable annuity compared to the concept of the principal-protected, low-cost, new-generation annuity. Call Anil Vazirani and Secured Financial Solutions at 800-957-5604, extension 200. Speak to Lee Marshall to set up a complimentary consultation to learn the facts that you may not be aware of in your high-risk, high-fee variable annuity. So please call Anil Vazirani and Secured Financial Solutions at 800-957-5604, extension 200. Learn more about fee, income, and risk analysis complimentary on the web at www.theripa.com. Guarantees based on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the insurer, not suitable for all investors. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Safe Auto gets it. That's why they help keep you and your car with the right car insurance for the right price right now. Because at Safe Auto, what drives us drives you. 1-800-SAFE-AUTO.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. This is Bob Roth with Health Futures, taking stock in you. We're the only show here in Arizona dedicated to medical and healthcare field, covering the latest in news and innovations. And I'm here today with Dr. Ed Staren from Cancer Treatment Centers of America. And when we last left off, we were talking about these cancer fighters. And it's I remember the Verizon commercials when they first came out, and you had that dude wearing that jumpsuit, and he'd have an army of people behind him. So I got to tell you, Dr. Staren, that's what I'm thinking about, is that when people come to Cancer Treatment Centers of America, they got this army behind them, helping them. So if you could describe to us, tell us about these cancer fighters.
Sure. When patients end up being treated for cancer, it's a battle. It's a battle of a lifetime. And you end up gaining confidence in your ability to win that battle, that war, by having a team behind you. And so we end up believing in our patient-empowered care team. Once someone's experienced that, it's very frequent that they end up wanting to contribute and be part of that team. And so we offer that opportunity to patients through an entity called Cancer Fighters. And there'll be individuals that'll be greater involved in that, where they become a council member, if you will. But suffice to say that those individuals provide their information to other patients that are undergoing this battle. And they'll talk to them by phone, or they'll give them a tour of the hospital, or they'll sit down and talk to them specifically about the disease and what they can expect as a course of their treatment. It becomes inspirational, and it ends up being a calming influence, because there's nothing like talking to someone who's gone through it themselves. And those same individuals are passionate about it. They believe in the model that's provided at Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and they believe in helping to empower patients so that they can make a difference in their lives.
Do they reach out to the patient? I mean, I'm just curious, if someone were to have this diagnosis, they come in and they work on a treatment regimen, is that something that the integrated team says, hey, you know what, you're dealing with pancreatic cancer, you're dealing with lung cancer, we have this resource available to you. Is that how it works?
Exactly how it works. You always have to be respectful of what patients' desires are. And right. It's interesting that very rarely do patients not want to talk to someone else. But part of delivering care at that level is being respectful. I believe in CTCA is founded on the concept that you have to have the right foundation. And the right foundation is a set of values that are consistent principles about which you deliver your care. And it's interesting, we end up being a bit of a new model, if you will. Someone that doesn't follow the previous track is called a heretic. Ironically, our values fit that. We're hopeful, we're empowering, we're responsive, we're ethical, we're team-spirited, we're innovative, and we're compassionate. And if you end up following those values and you ensure that you're delivering upon those values, you'll deliver the type of care that you'd want to deliver to your family member.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible, the stuff that is being done right here in our backyard. One of the things you shared with me at the break was not only are the cancer fighters working on behalf of some of the patients that are dealing with the diagnosis that they're dealing with, but at Cancer Treatment Centers of America, you utilize these cancer fighters. You guys have been there. December will be 5 years.
Yeah.
And I know that you've expanded your footprint several times. You've gone out laterally, if you would, and then you've gone up as well.
Correct.
How did they play a part in this?
If we really are going to be all about patients, then they need to be part of that design and growth. And so part of our Cancer Fighters and our Cancer Fighter Council is to help us ensure that the model that we deliver, both the services we provide and the way it looks, ends up being consistent with what would be comfortable for them. I remember distinctly having a color scheme and some palettes and carpeting and the like that I thought was going to be terrific in a part that we were expanding in the hospital. And we took it before our Cancer Fighters. They didn't like it at all. That was another lesson learned. So you continue to learn lessons as you go through life. But they were right. They ended up coming forward with the need for some increased lighting and some different types of color schema. And we listened to the patients, and that was the schema that we used. And it's beautiful, and it was absolutely uplifting. So it's reinforcing on listening to patients. We never start a board meeting, as an example, without hearing from a patient. And I can tell you in my role as CEO in that circumstance, it's a little nerve-wracking having a patient come in and talk to your board, your bosses, to tell them about their experience. But you will not get better without listening to those patients. And it's amazing to me how seldom that kind of activity occurs. They will tell us and ask us about new and innovative therapies and things that they hear about and challenge us to ensure that we're providing those types of therapies. If you listen to your customer, it's a basic business principle, and healthcare's not followed that. It's one that will help ensure your success going forward because you're delivering care that's important to them.
Healthcare may not have followed that, but Cancer Treatment Centers of America has. It's not. It has broken that paradigm. It's not the ivory tower mentality where they're pushing their ideas down onto the community and their patients. I love the fact that you're listening and you're hearing what they have to say. Everything from what type of treatments are out there to the design of the hospital. That is really cool. The other thing that I think is really cool is for us that live here in Arizona, we're blessed to have a Cancer Treatment Center of America here, but there are locations throughout the country in Atlanta, Chicago, Philadelphia, Seattle, and Tulsa. Are there plans for other additional locations?
We are looking at other locations throughout the United States and even abroad. We have a goal to be within 300 miles of 90% of the U.S. population, so a key strategy.
Wow.
And our goal is to make sure that patients know about and can therefore access CTCA. I mentioned earlier our website, but cancercenter.com provides information about the organization that they can seek out, and it ends up being an opportunity for them to chat and interact, and even if they may not be a patient, to give us information that may change the way we deliver care to other patients.
You know, what's interesting is I look at your email address, and you have hope in it. I have been out to your hospital, and the road that the hospital resides on is Celebrate Life Way. And I know there are a lot of listeners that are listening to our show today that either are directly dealing with cancer, the second leading cause of death, or they have someone very close to them that is dealing with it. Cancer Treatment Centers of America is giving us hope. And it is in your name, and your street address is so appropriately named, Celebrate Life.
We have an event at 5 years called Celebrate Life. And while unusual for patients to have a recurrence more than 5 years, it certainly is a milestone. And when a person reaches that point, we plant a tree in honor of their reaching that important event. I remember one day, actually, when I hit my 5 year, I walked into my office and my staff had a large tree in the office that was a complete surprise to me and one of the most wonderful days in my life because we were celebrating life.
Gives me chills.
Yeah.
It gives me absolute chills. Well, I know we got to take a break right now, but when we do come back, Dr. Staren, I want to talk about the innovations that Cancer Treatment Centers of America is doing. This is Bob Roth, Health Futures Taking Stock in You, and I'm here with Dr. Ed Staren from Cancer Treatment Centers of America. We will be right back.
As the markets continue to fluctuate with the uncertainty of the world economy, more and more investors are turning to oil to ensure their wealth and financial longevity while leveraging their tax liability. Impact Global Resources, an independent oil producer actively drilling in the United States, and is now accepting accredited investors only to participate in their active drilling projects. To learn more about this exciting investment opportunity, go to impactglobalresources.com or call 855-510-0727. This unique investment has significant tax advantages with an upside potential unlike anything you have ever seen. Uncertainty is driving investors to alternative investment opportunities with incredible tax advantages. If you are an accredited investor, give Impact Global Resources a call at 855-510-0727. That's 855-510-0727, or go to impactglobalresources.com. That's impactglobalresources.com.
Life can hit you with the unexpected. The loss of a job, a sudden illness, a dramatic jump in your mortgage payment, leaving you feeling helpless, forcing you to make difficult decisions. If you've fallen behind on your mortgage, are worried about financial problems, or are afraid of foreclosure, it's time to take control. You don't have to lose your home. The National Foundation for Credit Counseling can help. Seek advice from our certified housing counselors today. Call us at 866-687-6322 or visit mortgagehelpnow.org. The National Foundation for Credit Counseling. Real solutions for real people.
Join Matt Dana from the Dana Law Firm every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. for his weekly Estate Planning with the Dana Law Firm program. With over 25 years of experience, Matt will give you cutting-edge strategies, ideas, and tips on how to protect your estate from an unexpected event. Plus, you'll even learn how to protect and maximize your family's inheritance on estate planning with the Dana Law Firm with Matt Dana every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. right here on Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
Certified income specialist Steve Jurich has helped many Money Radio listeners with IRA, 401k, and 403b rollovers. Here's why. Steve uses a combination of investments and carefully selected annuities that many advisors are not even aware of. Hear Steve and Sinclair No talk about your successful retirement. Mondays at 4:35 p.m., Wednesdays at noon, and now Saturdays at 11 a.m. right here on Money Radio. And visit IQWealthGroup.com. That's IQWealthGroup.com.
It's the 10th anniversary of the Woman Entrepreneur Small Business Boot Camp. Register online at www.womensbusinessbootcamp.com today.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress HomeCare Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. This is Bob Roth with Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you're just tuning in right now, we have our guest, Dr. Ed Staren, and he's from Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and he is telling us about this incredible resource we have in our community. And for our listening audience, many of you are either natives or you have come here from another location like Dr. Staren and I have. I arrived here 20 years ago, and I don't believe there were any cancer treatment centers, nothing like CTCA, here in Phoenix at all. Matter of fact, a friend of mine's mother was dealing with cancer back 20 years ago and would have to make the trip down to Tucson several times a week just to get treatment. And now, not only do we have Cancer Treatment Centers of America here, but I think we have a total of 5 centers. And I would look at them as 5 centers of excellence. They all provide a great need here in our community. And today we're talking about Cancer Treatment Centers of America. And I want to just go back to something that you said before. You used an acronym that you referred to as HERETIC. I think I said that right, heretic. But let me tell you what each one means, because you walked through it, but the H is for hopeful, E is for empowering, 3 is to be responsive, 4 is ethical, 5 is team-spirited, 6 is innovative, and last but not least, 7 is compassionate. And it really is the core values of what CTCA stands for. And the one that I find very, very exciting, because this is what we're seeing on the television commercials, and I know you guys are running ads, but the one that you're talking about is innovation, and the innovation things that are going on. And for me, the one that you are at least sharing with our community is the intraoperative radiation, and you have personal experience with that. So I would like you to share not only that innovation, but some of the other innovations that you are doing.
Thank you, Bob. First of all, you mentioned other centers in the community, and I think we are most privileged as Arizonans to have outstanding care centers in the valley and in the state. And I'm one that believes that a rising sea floats all boats, and it makes us all better. And it ensures that we're driving towards innovative options for our patients. And consistent with that being one of our values, it's correct that it should be a value, because patients deserve to have innovative options. They need to have powerful, innovative options, because what was available yesterday may not be appropriate for tomorrow. And what may be available tomorrow may not be appropriate or state-of-the-art for a year from now. So we need to stay on that front edge. Patients deserve it. One of the innovative options that you talked about was intraoperative radiation therapy. And what that means is during the time of a procedure, during the time of surgery, you're able to deliver radiation in a higher dose directly to an area where a tumor may have occurred, and therefore not be as injurious to the surrounding normal tissues. My cancer, the sarcoma, was one that has a tendency to recur. It has a high tendency to recur, and it requires very high dose radiation therapy, perhaps higher than you can deliver effectively by standard modalities. Being able to deliver that intraoperatively right into the area where the tumor was located can make it be more effective. And God's blessings, I'm here, and hopefully that innovative option was a key part of that. But you can't have just one option. There's so many facets to care. There's surgical innovations, and we're privileged to provide robotic therapies and advanced minimal access type procedures. Patients need to know that their entire aspect of their care is innovative. And one of the aspects that we talk about is nutritional support. We end up having a 25-acre organic farm immediately adjacent to our hospital. It's the only organic farm that's owned by a hospital immediately adjacent to that facility. And every day, our culinary team goes out into that field and will harvest produce that's used that day for our patients. Our chefs are Culinary Institute trained. They're outstanding individuals that take great pride in what they deliver, both from a taste standpoint and from a nutritional standpoint, because they know that that's a key part of the recovery and treatment. They are part of that care team. One of the exciting advances in medicine today is that we've gone from previously where it was macroscopic. You looked at the tumor was a big tumor and maybe there were nodes involved, to then microscopic, looking at what the tumor behaved like under a microscope, to now what we call personalized or precision cancer treatment at a molecular level. We understand that a lung cancer in one person is very different than a lung cancer in another person. And it sounds just logical. When you talk about it, you go, of course. But until very recently, if someone had lung cancer, they were likely to receive the same cocktail of chemotherapies as another person with lung cancer. Well, why would that make any sense when we just look at each other and we know we're different? Our tumors are different. By precision cancer treatment and looking at the genetic information of a tumor, we can precisely determine what the best treatment is for that person's lung cancer versus another person's lung cancer. And that's really the future of medicine. That's what's going to make the kind of radical differences in options that patients deserve.
Innovative, yes. Individualized, yes. Hope, yes. And I would like our audience to hear again how they can reach Cancer Treatment Centers of America if they have questions, concerns about themselves or even a loved one.
The key gets back to those aspects you talked about as far as values, and compassion being the last one. Our phone number is 1-800-4HOPE, and our website is cancercenter.com, and it's all about empowering patients and providing information. We know that it's key to be able to provide that compassion. And I've had personal experiences of late where I ended up having family members that have had difficult health care circumstances. They weren't cancer, but they were devastating. And we've had the unfortunate requirement of some chronic care for those individuals at home. And that compassion, taking care of patients, providing them service that you would provide to a loved one is key. And I'll say in no uncertain terms, Bob, one of the things that we've enjoyed at cancercenter.com is knowing that we're providing a service to patients. And we've been privileged to work with your organization.
Thank you.
Cypress HomeCare has been the type of organization that provides that compassionate care, that holding, touching care that you provide to family members. And so you've been very kind in the comments you've made about CTCA, and I would be remiss in not acknowledging the wonderful care that your organization provides as well.
Thank you. And what's interesting is a couple weeks ago we had Dr. Ed Perrin, who is a gerontologist here in town, and he was educating us about touch. And it's interesting because he says that a baby can be touched over 60 times a day, when an aging adult may only be a couple times a week. And you talk about that compassion. And I am sure that integrated team approach is not only giving compassion, but I would imagine they're embracing, holding hands, encouraging, and how important touch is to those individuals.
One of the things that occurs in cancer, and family members don't even realize it, they stop hugging. They stop touching the patient that has cancer. It's very well documented. And it's almost as if they're afraid they're going to catch it. Cancer doesn't work like that, but we become frightened and change our behavior as a result. We're all about hugging, and we recognize that's key to the therapy. When you walk into Cancer Treatment Centers of America, I would be very surprised if you wouldn't be hugged very quickly by individuals that are welcoming you, because we want you to feel like family and know that we're going to take you under our wings and ensure that you're being provided that level of compassionate, touching care.
Well, I have to say that we're going to have to wrap things up, and I'm just elated to have had you as a guest today, and I want to have you back because you have shared an incredible amount of information about this great resource that we have in our community. And I want to thank you, Dr. Ed Staren, for being here today from Cancer Treatment Centers of America. And for those that are listening, this is Bob Roth, host of Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I'm also the managing partner for Cypress HomeCare Solutions. If you need to reach me and you have any questions, please call me at 602-264-8009. And we're going to have to say so long.
Thank you, Bob. It's been my privilege.
Go make it a great day. Thank you.
There's no place like home. You've been listening to Bob Roth's Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress HomeCare Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit CypressHomeCare.com. Be sure to join Health Futures with Bob Roth every Friday at noon, right here on Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
It's an extremely valuable resource. It's found in offices, buildings, and schools. It's a resource that speaks volume, yet it never makes a sound. Everyone recognizes it. Everyone uses it. Interestingly enough, it's rarely discussed. Croy Sign Systems, designers and manufacturers of architectural and ADA signs since 1981. Let Croy be your resource for identification, direction, and information. Give Croy Signs a call at 480-619-6070 or online at kroysigns.com.